purpose of this breakfast series is to have a chance for various people from different walks of life to come together to consider the main issues of our city, our state, and indeed our country. And today, we have a special guest who will help us to do that. So that's somebody else's job. Mine is simply to say to you how pleased we are to have you at the Great Builders Breakfast, and how much we hope that we can learn from you. And together we listen to our speaker, we hear your questions, and get a chance to understand how important one of us is to the rest of us. Thank you for being here this morning. Dr. Singh.
I'm Tom Lucino, Executive Director of the ASU Center for Leadership and Public Policy, and I welcome you, as does Dr. Harrison and the rest of the AUM faculty and staff who are here. Faculty and staff. Oh, excuse me, ASU. Yes, my check can be deducted, salary can be deducted significantly from my check. And Dr. Harris, I certainly apologize. For some of you who know me for a while, there was a time in my life where I worked at another university in this city. But I am very pleased, very happy to be, and a lot much longer than last, to be an employee at Alabama State University. Speaking of Alabama State University, there was an event last evening here, and our staff from the Center for Leadership and Public Policy had to get up early to set up the room the way we usually have it for the Bridge Builders breakfast. So I'd like to ask the staff to stand and receive a round of applause for the good work that they've done. As well, I'd like to take care of one bit of business before I introduce our speaker, and that is to tell you that we have comment cards on your table. If you would fill them out, we want to make this breakfast event better every time we do it. So if you fill it out, I promise you we will read every one of your cards. It's my honor and pleasure to introduce our speaker this morning, District Attorney Ellen Brooks. She's a true public servant. She's a native of Montgomery. She has her undergraduate degree from Vanderbilt University. She's a graduate of the University of Alabama Law School. She began her career in 1977 as a deputy district attorney with the County of Montgomery. She was promoted to chief district attorney in 1983. In 1991, she was appointed deputy attorney general for the state of Alabama. In 1993, she was elected district attorney for Montgomery County, and she served in this position and served outstandingly for 20 years. She is, as you know, heavily involved in the community on numerous nonprofit boards. Her outstanding work has been recognized since 1980 with an award almost every year, a significant award, sometimes multiple awards that are well deserved. Starting with the Outstanding Career Woman of 1980, and I think you're going to top out for that award next year, aren't you, young lady? That's a bit of humor. Her hallmark, as everybody knows, is that she is thoroughly prepared when she goes to court. I had the privilege of working with her for 4 or 5 years to select the recipients of an award that the Serapis gave in the past to uplift women who were having difficult times in their life. Well, Ellen prepared so well for those meetings. She was familiar with everything in the file, and I just developed so much respect for it. So without any further ado, let's welcome Ellen Brooks, our district attorney, a true public servant.
Well, good morning. I've noticed as I have reached a certain age that gentlemen never tell how old I am, but they make references to things like young career woman almost at the end of that road. I'm really pleased to see so many people here. At first I thought it was me. And then I realized that you didn't pay anything to eat breakfast. and I realized that many of you come no matter who the speaker is. But I want to call to your attention the card that Dr. Vicino mentioned. And the second question is, how would you rate the speaker? And I would commend you to either circle excellent or leave it blank. And just remember, you get what you pay for. I have been a prosecutor for a long time, for over 30 years. And in that 30 years, I have seen many changes. 30 years ago, it seemed so simple. You went to court, you tried your case, the jury found the defendant guilty, and you were done. Today, it is so much more complex. We have fewer trials and many more hearings, especially after conviction. Last year, and probably I can say the same for this year, the single biggest challenge that I've had as district attorney for Montgomery County is a mismatch between the two R's, responsibility and resources. Perhaps you can identify with me. Responsibilities, we have more criminal laws today than we ever had on the books. They're passed dozens every year. We have more rules to follow. We have more complicated crimes to prove, from computer fraud to identity theft. Yet our resources, I have fewer attorneys today than we did 10 years ago. We have inadequate space with some lawyers being put in closets. We have a technology lag, and we certainly have, and I know you know this, less money. In fact, 42% cut in our state funding over the last 5 years. I did say 42%. Our county's funding has remained about level, except we're really losing ground because our personnel costs go up every day. So as our responsibilities go up and our resources go down, we have an ever-widening gap. You feel my pain? It's true for you in wherever you are. If you're in state or local government, if you're in private industry or business, we all face these issues. How do we deal with them? Same way you do. I have a brilliant administrative assistant who knows how to plan ahead. She knew what was coming. She wouldn't let me spend all the dollars. We've been slow to hire. We've not even filled all our positions. We've cut operating expenses. We even went to the legislature and got help from them to cut our expenses with the way our grand juries operate in the state. We've increased our own funding with things like a new bail bond fee. And we've created programs that we've grown over the years, like pretrial diversion, drug court, and other alternatives. But still it's not enough. So how do we stem the flow of criminals in the criminal justice system? How do we cut down the need for Well, we'll never cut away the need. It's always going to be there. You can go back to the beginning of Genesis and see that we'll always have crime and criminals. But what dawned on me, and I'm a slow learner, was that we needed to change the way we look at things. We needed to look more at prevention instead of punishment. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm going to still lock up people who need to be locked up to protect us. Don't think Ellen's gone soft in her old age home. But what I have learned is that we need to move some resources to the front end instead of the back end. I'm always on the back end. I see it after it's been committed. I see the violence. I see the tragedy. So how do we bridge the gap? How do we move from the back end to the front end in a time of very limited resources? Well, it's not a unique problem. All of us are facing it. So today I pose this question. Am I a bridge builder or a demolition expert? Think about it. Think about yourself. Now I would share two examples of why I hope I'm a bridge builder. And the first is a direct address to a problem I see every day in court. The one common thread among criminals standing in that courtroom ready to be sentenced is a lack of education. It's a problem with kids who quit, who get thrown out, who give up on life. Truancy leads to suspension, leads to expulsion, leads to dropout, leads to crime. I see it way too often. So we decided we wanted to intervene rather than prosecute. We wanted front end rather than back end. So how in the world does this work? It's very simple. When a child is suspended from school, we look at what happened. We look at their records. And if it's one of those cases that's not so bad, you put a gun to a teacher's head, you're going to go to court. You chew gum in the hallway, you're going to correct your own action. But the ones in the middle we try to reach out to. And we literally will send them a letter over my signature and tell them, we know what you did, we know who you are, straighten up and fly right. You're not going to believe this, but all the kids that received that letter, now 46 cents, 84% don't get resuspended. 84%. I would like to do this because I want to do right. I don't think kids wake up in the morning and say, today let's see what I can do bad. They are responding to circumstances often not within their control. And that's what we've learned, because if you do get resuspended, we go into the home with a case manager, and we use a nationally approved study, and we evaluate the home and what the needs are. We ask everyone in the home what's going on, from grandma and grandpapa to the littlest child who may not yet be in school, and certainly as well as the offender. Now what we do is we figure out what are the issues and how can our community address them. And we link the two. Montgomery's blessed to have some of the best community agencies in the world. But when you don't know what the problems are, you don't know where they are, it does you no good. So that's what we're doing, is we're putting them together. How we put this program together was real simple. We looked at the problem, number one, and we found we had over 13,000 suspensions a year in our school system. The school system said, we've got to do something. They reached out to the community, and the community reached back. There is a law. You wonder, how did Ellen get involved? There is a state law on the books that says every parent must see that their child is enrolled in school, attends regularly, and behaves while in school. And, I love this, the district attorney shall vigorously enforce this law. Well, I'm here to tell you, it has not been vigorously enforced in the past. But with our school system, our board and superintendent, and all the community agencies coming together with leadership from our city and county, we said we can do something. and we can do it together. Our goal was to reduce suspensions in the first year by 2%. I'm happy to tell you that in the first 2 years we reduced it not by 2%, but by 21%. That means children are in their seats. Children are in their seats, they're learning, and they have a chance to graduate. We all ought to be concerned about that. Number one issue, by the way, we have found was not drugs. It was not sex abuse. It's mental health issues. So we're working with our community to develop better programs for our young people and their families. Next, we realized that we have a bad graduation rate in Montgomery County. I'm ashamed of it. I am ashamed. I was born and raised here. And I can do something, and you can too. So we started addressing truancy. That is a repeated pattern of unexcused absences from the school. Again, if you're misbehaving or you're not in that chair, you're not learning and you won't graduate. Again, we set a goal. The mayor challenged us when we begged for some money, and in this economic time, to his credit, Mayor Strange, you found some money. The county, Chairman Dean, and the commission found some money in this difficult time because they see the wisdom front end versus back end. And we were challenged to, again, improve that 2%. I frankly didn't think we could do it because when you shine a bright light on a problem, you tend to see the extent of the problem. Well, we did see how bad it was, but I'm pleased to tell you that truancy has been reduced by 14% in Montgomery County, and we're not through yet. So, my goal with that program, kids in school, not in court. Stem the flow of defendants and improve our quality of life. Now, shift with me to the second example of bridge building. Montgomery, Alabama has been written about in many books, many newspapers. It's been talked about on television and radio, often for things you and I are not very proud of. But I'm proud to share with you that in a book called Dream Big, Start Small, Casey Wynn, the father of the Family Justice Center movement, recognized in his book, Montgomery, Alabama, as a shining example of what can be done when people see a problem and commit to do something about it. Again, at a time where we had no federal money to start, and we had the worst of economic times, certainly in my lifetime, we saw a problem where victims of domestic violence, sexual abuse, child abuse, and elder exploitation, special needs victims, were being run around from agency to agency. Now that's the good news, is we have a lot of agencies. The bad news is they were falling through the cracks, from frustration, from difficulties with transportation, from children who couldn't cope anymore, from mamas who had sometimes not even a car in which to ride. Our goal was to make our existing services more effective, more efficient, and more accessible by locating some of the primary resources in one building. Hence the name, One Place, Family Justice Center. We didn't invent the concept, although Karen Sellers, I'd like to think that you and I came up with the idea long before the first center. For 30 years ago, we had a dream of uniting our agencies. We just didn't know what to call it or how to do it. But over the years, we built bridges. And over the years, we've learned to work together and quit fighting over turf. So again, with the help of the mayor and the county, we found a building almost by accident. We looked at it, we said, you know, this could be our star. I am proud to say that October of this year, we will have been open 3 years, and we're not fighting, we're working together. And what I think is the best collaboration of city and county government I have ever seen, those entities came together, again with limited resources, and not seeking credit, not fighting over who owned the building, who had title, who got the newspaper endorsement. They said, we're going to make it happen, and we did. We have over 20 partners involved, 6 on site. It's a unique program, the only one in the country we know of to open without we're saving lives. This is crime prevention in its truest sense, because the victims who come there, if they had nowhere else to go, would end up, unfortunately, too often in the ground as murder victims. So we are saving their lives, but also the lives of the children who are either direct or indirect victims. We are intervening in that cycle of violence and teaching them to cope in positive ways so they don't end up as defendants or as adult victims. Now, we've got a lot of challenges with both our programs. We're out of space with our Justice Center. That's an interesting problem to have. But this is crime prevention at its best. So, when I reflect on these two projects in my life experience, I'll ask the question, how do we move to be bridge builders instead of demolition experts? It is so easy today to turn on the TV, the radio, even reading the papers, and you hear people fussing and complaining. Where are the solutions? Aren't you tired of that? Aren't you tired of listening to all these nag? I am. Well, being a lawyer, I approach the problem this way. I do the research. I like to be prepared, Tom. I haven't changed. So in law, I assume that medicine and engineers, and I know the financial world has it, but we have certain books that we like to go to. And my biggest, fattest book in my office is called Black's Law Dictionary. So I looked up, what is a bridge? And I found a very brilliant definition: a structure erected to facilitate the passage and for the benefit of travelers. Facilitate and benefit, key words. And what is a builder? Well, we think we know that. It's simply one who puts a structure into permanent form. So, we know what a bridge builder is, right? Well, how do we build a bridge? Well, I want y'all to know that the internet is a great thing. I looked up how to build a bridge. And I want you to know, despite the fact I am not an engineer, I now know the 8 steps to build a bridge. It's really quite simple. 1, determine what type of bridge you need for the situation. 2, identify an ideal place to build the bridge. 3, design the bridge. Teamwork, right? 4, break ground. Sometimes that's the hardest step for all of us, isn't it? It's just getting going. Assemble the steel. And after you put all these pieces together, the next step is to build the decking for the bridge. It's usually concrete. Then you pave the new bridge so that it is usable. And last, and the one that I love the best, have a ribbon cutting ceremony. So now you too know how to build a bridge. So, I'm not an engineer, and I doubt I will ever do a Golden Gate. But I have also discovered in my readings on the internet that there is a second kind of bridge. Some people call it a human bridge or a people bridge. And with credit to Brad Lomnick with Leadership Rules and David Blockley, who wrote Bridges, I have learned a lot about human bridges. You see, a human bridge is nothing more than a connection by relationship. And if you think about it, and it struck me when I read this, we spend more time building relationships, or we ought to, than we do doing our real work. Think about it. I guarantee you I do if I'm going to be successful. You do too in your work. So, whether you're in building a relationship in your business, trying to make more money, building relationships with co-workers, neighbors, friends, or even family, this is something we're all called to do. Span, not a river, but our differences, whether they be religious, cultural, racial, economic, whatever divides us, we've got to build these relationships. We do it how? Through teamwork. We learn how, I learned how by just doing, experience, trying and seeing what works. And I will share with you Ellen's success factors. Not scientific, you won't find it on the internet, but it worked for me. 1, know what you're doing. Study, train, get educated, and continue to learn. 2, get involved, get your hands dirty. 3, ask questions. 4, listen. Then build your relationships by finding a shared interest. We're all human beings and we all share things. We just got to work at finding them. Then use the resources you do have instead of moaning about what you don't. Agree on clearly articulated visions. Know what your problem is, and more importantly, what is your solution? Stay focused. Stay focused on your vision. You're going to get distracted. Naysayers will come along. Stay focused. Then, like Casey said in his book, dream big and start small. My dream is for every child in Montgomery County that starts public school to graduate. But I started wanting just a 2% improvement. Spread the credit. And don't value every contribution. Don't put a lot of judgment in it. I like this one. Make it fun. None of us want to do something dreary, do we? So have that sense of humor, be flexible, because the situation will change. I can guarantee that. Follow up. When you ask someone to do something and you don't hear back, it doesn't necessarily mean no. It may mean I'm busy like you. Remind me. Be persistent. 30 years it took us, Karen. But now we have a fantastic one-place family justice center. Do not let money be a roadblock. Yeah, you heard me. It takes dollars to make things happen, but you'll be amazed. Build it and they will come. And always remember, it's about the individual. That's how great things get done. As that bridge builder, Marie Curie, said, you remember her, French physicist, the radioactive lady? This is how I remember her from my little orange biography in school. She won the Nobel Prize twice. She recognized 100 years ago, and I quote, "You cannot hope to build a better world without improving the individual. To that end, each of us must work for his own improvement and, at the same time, share a general responsibility for all humanity, our particular duty being to aid those to whom we think we can be most useful." Well, if you prefer someone a little more modern to share what I'm talking about with you, I will refer you to Naomi Wanama Judd, the country music singers, who wrote and sung in 1990, "Love Can Build a Bridge." These words, "Love and only love can join the tribes of man. The first step is to realize that it all begins with you and me." I suggest that each of us, no matter what our profession, engineer, attorney, physicist, country music singer, teacher, administrator, we can all be a bridge builder. Life doesn't get easier. I learned that in 30 years. There are never enough resources for our responsibilities. You remember my Black's Law Dictionary? But there's one other term I'd like to define for you. Bridge master. Persons chosen by the citizens to have the care and supervision of bridges. Today I invite you to be a bridge master. We are entrusted with much. To whom God has given, let us give back. Thank you.
Ms. Brooks?
It's Ellen, please. On that.
Well, some of us are a little bit older. The question I had, I heard you mention the success, very high rate of success for those who stay in school, but I'm also concerned about what we know is the real high rate of dropout here in Montgomery County. So I'm wondering what kind of strategies do you have to deal with the dropout, since sometimes they tend to fall through the cracks, if that's what the real trouble is.
One of the great things that's happened is our legislature did change the law of what ages are required to be in school. And I doubt this is politically popular, but I would like to raise it even higher myself. So we have to work within our laws, 6 to 17, right? And with the school board and the school superintendent, we are addressing the dropout rate indirectly by addressing the suspensions and truancies. Because what we'll find is with many dropouts, they are maybe failing. They're failing why? Because they're not there. They're misbehaving, they're truant, whatever. So our theory is that if we can keep them in school and keep them behaving, we can get them educated, and then they'll see a light at the end of the tunnel, meaning a diploma and a chance at a decent job. So that's how we're addressing that. And again, I use that same law I referenced earlier, vigorously enforcing that. By the way, we have taken some families to court who refused to cooperate with us. And I don't know of a case that we've actually lost. And what is so cool is, guess what the punishment is? To have to work with the Healthy Families Program. So we get them one way or the other. So thank you for your concern, and we'll continue to work on it.
As sort of a follow-on to that, and I appreciate you looking at the connection between dropouts and criminal activity, as the statistics too often show. I have a neighbor who's basically given up on school, as it were. He's 17 now, never completed the 9th grade, never been in any kind of real trouble, but I'm very concerned about his future. And he doesn't come from a problem home. His older brother's enrolled at ASU right now. But aside from, say, Job Corps, what kind of resources for somebody like this are there in the county?
Well, we're getting a little outside of my realm of expertise, but I noticed that Beverly Ross was here, and perhaps she can help. But I do know with new things that we're trying in Montgomery, to the credit of the school board, like the career academies and things like that, for the child that's not cut out to go to college, we can offer more and more alternatives so that they will stay in school in a field that they're interested in. If you're interested in it, it's fun, and if it's fun, you'll do better in it. So I'm hoping we can do more things like that. We also have some programs at the juvenile court where we work with young people who do get arrested in an effort to try to help them. It's a complicated problem that will require all of us working together. So I hear your passion, so maybe Beverly, thank you. Maybe y'all can connect after. Elder Dawkins, my namesake is here as well. Two of our current school board members, and if there are others here, I'm not leaving you out on purpose. I just don't see you. So thank you for your concern. As you can tell, education has become very important to me. I'm going to give the commencement address at my high school this year, and I'm already extremely nervous. And I'm thinking, what can I share with them? And I think that I'm coming back to two thoughts. One is that education doesn't ever stop if you really are learning. And the second is that it better be fun or we'll quit. So, now, how I'm going to turn that into a great speech that people will remember, I don't know yet. Yeah, possibly.
Do you mind if I take you in a different direction?
Sure, Pat Lady.
I think gun violence is something that is, it's on the lips, the minds, and the hearts of everybody in this audience, and probably everybody in the country who has half a brain. And you very obviously believe that early intervention, prevention, is the solution with our education situation and our lack of education brings people to your presence. Have you had any thoughts, Ellen, on how, at least on the local level, we might, as a community, do a better job of identifying those troubled souls before they end up in your presence because they've done something hurtful to another human being?
You ask a very difficult question, Senator. And what strikes me as I listen to the debate across our country is I was taught years ago, do not label people until they deserve a label. The old self-fulfilling prophecy. I've also learned through our Helping Families initiative that mental illness is much more prevalent than I ever realized. And as we identify more people, especially young people with issues, and can get them help early on, it is my hope that they will learn to respond to the difficulties of life in a nonviolent manner. Last week we had a press conference where we announced some rewards being offered and several unsolved murders from 2011. And I was so saddened by each one, but one struck me in particular. He was a teacher. And guess what he taught? Mediation, counseling, things of that nature. And he was shot to death. And it just, things like that can get you down, but they can also be the motivation to keep going. And so I think that we need to work on that mental health identification of issues, remove some stigma that is still so prevalent, and get people help, especially our young people. Good thoughtful questions. One of my teachers.
How can we help you with your good work?
Well, thank you. Send money. Pay your taxes. Buy locally. We need volunteers with our programs. We need you to encourage our public officials, pat them on the backs to tell them, Elton, you're spending your money wisely. You're doing a good job. Because we all want money to keep the bad folks locked up. That's a given. But the other end of it is where we really need to focus right now. The volunteers and time. At the Justice Center, we need everything from copy paper to toilet paper. I'm just going to tell you, it's that simple. Support your school system through education. And, you know, if we ever have a chance to improve it with dollars and cents. You know, I don't have children in public school, but that it affects my life dramatically every day. And it does yours too, whether you know it or not. So those are the kind of things. And thank you for your contribution. You've been a big supporter of ours, and we appreciate that. So, no last burning question? Mary Ann, the character lady.
I've heard the Montgomery DA has special influence because of where she is.
I know where she's going. I'm sorry, it's an inside joke.
Okay, I'm just wondering, are you able to influence what is happening in Alabama just by speaking up on certain laws that are not being well implemented?
Yes, thank you. I actually did take it a little bit broader than I expected. Because of my length of service and my experience, I have a wonderful staff, and I don't get to do some things anymore because of my position. But I have committed to trying to help others in the state. I cannot tell another DA what to do, no more than they can do the same to me. But I have offered our programs as models, and I am working with some district attorneys, some of whom have adopted a couple of our programs, and others who say if we could find the resources to start, we would. And I'm working on that end of it as well. I also serve on a number of state committees, everything from the Sentencing Commission to the Criminal Code Review Committee, to the Pattern Jury Instructions, to the Fair Campaign Practices Act, to try to implement some of these things statewide. And so I hope we can do that. Not that they do it just like we did, but that they steal from us, get the ideas. We're excited. We're hoping one day to be able to host the National Family Justice Center Conference in Montgomery. They've already inquired. They'd love to come south. We have good weather and other fun things for them to do, from civil rights history to biscuits baseball. So we're working on it. Mr. Chairman, I'll be talking to you about that one day. Thank you all for coming today.
Ms. Brooks, on behalf of Alabama State University, I extend to you our sincere appreciation and thanks for coming here this morning to help us all understand that building the bridge is in my view at least, is a two-way street. You usually start on both sides of the chasm. People come together, and if we can meet in the middle, we can probably help to make Montgomery the place that we all wish it to be. Thank you all for coming here this morning. We appreciate your presence. We wish you a good day and Godspeed.